Hey there, it's Hannah and welcome to the channel. Today, I'll be sharing some awesome techniques to help you craft some truly pixel-tastic dirt tiles. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's start by creating a 16 by 16 tile. Choose a neutral shade as our base color. I usually go with the third color in this palette and then use the bucket tool to fill in this area. This will be our base. Pick a lighter shade and create large circular pieces. This will be our elevated dirt blocks. I'm giving each dirt block a unique size and shape to add some variety to the tile. Since the base already served as a shade for these dirt blocks, we can move on to lower ones. Use a darker shade and color in areas of the intersection. To create the shadow for a dirt block that is situated a bit lower, outline the lower dirt block. This helps us define its silhouette. I want to create another dirt block that sits even lower than the previous one, so I'll use an even darker shade and outline the block similarly to how we did in the previous one. This time, I also then color the dirt block with the shadow color. A tip here is to remove a part of the outline, especially on the outside. This will make the lines appear slightly thinner while also helping the edges blend more seamlessly. Notice how there's light touching the edge of the block. Let's replicate this effect by adding highlights to the rear part of the lower dirt tiles. Additionally, we'll apply highlights to the dirt tiles on top using the first color in our palette. However, if you are good with the previous layer and prefer to skip the highlights, that's absolutely fine. It's all about finding the right balance and achieving the desired effect in your tile design. Here, I'm just making the dirt blocks more rounded, so I'm using the third color from our palette and lining it to the corners. You could always use this color to reline some of the gaps here, so the intersection could seamlessly blend in with the other parts. Basically, I'm following the same concept to tweak around the details. Maybe adding some highlights or darkening some of the lines here. I feel like this one would do the job, so I'm gonna go with this one. However, to take our design to the next level, we need to avoid repetition, and that's why it's important to introduce some breathing room into our design. Use a neutral color in the palette like this one. Increase the brush size and color it over a white area. We want to create blocks like these. It's like giving our eyes a moment of rest, preventing them from fixating too much on the patterns and becoming overly aware of the repetition. In some cases, you may want to create different tile variations for various directions. When it comes to top-down tiles, there is usually a thickness indicated on the bottom tile. In this particular example, I've set up a scene where higher level connects to lower level through a single slope, while the rest remains separated by a cliff. This provides us an opportunity to explore different tile shapes. Let's start by creating some bottom edge tiles. Start by filling in the entire space with a solid color. Choose a shade that is a bit darker than the surface color. Let's make the separation line more natural by making this line a bit more jagged. This is because the edge of the slope is not a clean cut and some dirt blocks will stick out. These lighter parts represents where the tiles protrude. That's why it's important to have them align nicely with the larger tiles above. Lower level dirt blocks are visible from this angle and are located right below the surface tiles. So, make sure to include them in. Create circular pieces below like this with a slightly darker color and with a slightly smaller size. Now let's work on the side parts and create shadings. See the entire block up here? Draw two lines starting from the sides of the block and extending downwards to the bottom of the tiles. These lines represent the thickness of the dirt block. Similarly, we can create thickness for the smaller lower dirt blocks by drawing a cone shape below. There's no need to pull the lines all the way down to the bottom, as dirt blocks generally concentrate on the top. Divide the block into two and color in the shadow for one side. Make sure to keep the shadow consistent. For example, you can choose the left side as the shadow side. I'll add a thin highlight at the rear to create a separation with the lower parts. Here you can see in the preview window there's a clear separation between the lower parts of the cliff and the surface. Apply a similar but dimmer highlight to the lower blocks. Tweak around the lines to your likings. Don't worry if your initial line isn't perfect. The important thing is to keep going and make small adjustments along the way. As I was working on my design, I realized that the shadings appear a bit flat, so I decided to add some extra gradient from the top to the bottom by coloring in more shadows below. I believe this will give the design a nice flow and make it more visually pleasing. Similarly to the top part, the bottom line is also not straight. So we can add some bumps right above the larger block to create a more natural look. To enhance blending, I suggest adding a medium color pixel on each side of the line. You can see here that I continue tweaking the parts above because I feel like it can use a bit more smoothing. As we revisit the upper section, let's add some additional lower blocks to create more depth and detail. This will give the design a more layered and realistic look. Additionally, we can incorporate a touch of highlights along the lines to create the illusion of blocks popping out and catching some lights. Let's copy these tiles over to make a higher cliff. For higher cliffs, remove the jagged line in the middle and replace it with long strokes or more small dirt blocks. Don't forget to add the bottom line. Moving on to the sides. Take the surface tile and duplicate over to the sides. Create a jagged outline that starts from the top and goes all the way down, curving inwards at the bottom. I have this line in the middle here because I don't want the character to walk on these side tiles. Erase the outer part. You can hit M, select the area you want to delete and hit backspace, or delete if you are on a Mac. Color in the lower part with a darker color. You can consider adding an outline over this section to really make the separation stand out. To give it a sleek look, try spacing some part of the outline. Let's go back to the side clips. First, we'll enhance the separation line by adding a highlight to the rear. I also want to reline some of these dark gaps here. It's important to avoid using the outline color for the inner gaps as it may confuse the player. Remember, outline typically indicates a new zone, so using them on the inside might make the player question like which line is the separation line. So typically, you would want something that is dark but still has to be lighter than the outline color. Remember to add the highlights for these lower blocks. Down here, just like what we did with the previous part, add in the dark vertical lines and the lower dirt blocks. I feel like this highlight could use some tweaking. I'll make it look a bit more curvy by taking the non-highlight color and gently lining it around the edge of the highlight. Here, I continue to add in more lower blocks. I'll make the cliff up here a bit thicker with the thicker block below. And just do the same for the other side. Let's make the top tiles more natural by adding in more jagged lines. You can also do these for side tiles. Just copy those you already created here and paste it on each side. Here's a tip to level up your dirt tiles. Low readability. Low readability happens when tiles get jam-packed with too many details, making it harder for objects to stand out. Previously, we have introduced breathing room to break up these jam-packed textures. Now, I'll show you how color value can improve your tile readability. Take a look at these 3 samples and see which critter are you more drawn to. These 2 critters on the left draw more attention because their value is visibly different from the values on the ground. So when choosing your color palettes, make sure to separate the tile color value with the character's color value. I would generally go with any color range between these 2 samples. Another issue I see when it comes to dirt tiles is that many people tend to stick with fixed colors like light toffee or coffee brown. However, it's important to remember that dirt tiles come in a variety of colors depending on the atmosphere it's in. If you're designing a warm and inviting space, it's best to go for warm tones like shades of pink, orange, or purple. On the other hand, if you're working on a dark or colder setting, opting for cool tones like grays, blues, or purple can set the right mood. To add an extra touch of vibrancy to a scene without going overboard with drastic hues, consider applying a bit of hue shifting. This means the darker you go, the more you want to slightly shift towards blue or purple. Our eyes are naturally drawn to a wide range of colors, so having different hues make it much more natural. And this is our final result. If you make it to the end of this video, comment down below which part was the most helpful, and I'll be sure to respond to any of your messages. This is my first tutorial, so just let me know if you have any requests, anything you want to create, or anything you want to change. I would really appreciate if you could like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It will help me out a lot. And until the next video, stay tuned!